Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regularly scheduled board meeting for Monday, December the 9th, 2024. And I would like to call us to order, please, at 6:02 p.m. And I will begin this evening with our land designation and prayer. We would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of Treaty 8 territory and the homelands of the Métis people. We recognize the land on which we stand as the ancestral land of the Indigenous peoples and is common home to everyone in virtue of God, our Creator's gracious gift. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. It has been a challenging year for many of us for many reasons. Pope Francis reminds us that God's response to the spread of evil in the world was that he gave us Jesus, who drew near to us in a way we could never have imagined. Father, this Advent, we eagerly await Jesus drawing near to us again. In a world that can feel overcome by the sins of violence, poverty, and injustice, we pray that we can be instruments of peace and healing in your name. Be with us during this meeting, Lord. Help us open our hearts and minds to you so that we may hear your word and feel your desire in our work. Let us not be daunted by the challenges that we face, but rather let us search out your meaning and your purpose for our work. Guide us in our recognition and respect of the many talents and gifts that are present here today. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. We begin with the adoption of the agenda, and so I would be looking for a trustee, please, to motion to adopt the agenda as presented, provided there are no changes, omissions, or deletions.
I motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
And all in favor, please raise, and I cannot see everybody's hands here, so if you could please verbally agree?
Agree.
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 Agreed.
Thank you. And I believe we have apologies from Trustee Hoffman. He will be joining us shortly, but having that being adopted and moved as presented, we move now to the adoption of the minutes. With respect to the regular board meeting minutes of October the 15th, 2024, we did have an opportunity to review these minutes prior to this meeting. And I would ask that unless there are any additions, deletions, or amendments, for a trustee to move for the adoption of the minutes as presented.
I move that we adopt the minutes of the October 15th, 2024 board meeting as presented.
And all in favor?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Aye.
And I agree as well, so that motion is passed. We move now to the public presentation, and I cede the floor to Superintendent Natasha MacArthur-Poole.
Thank you, Chair Langmead. Every year we have a contest amongst our students from K to 12, and they can submit artwork that has the opportunity to be selected for our division Christmas card. And this year, our winner of our division Christmas card, and I'm just going to have to look at it because I'm can't read it off the screen, is Michaela Pacoma, a grade 10 student from Father McMurray High School. She has a great, I think it's a bit of ink and pencil depiction of the three kings and Mary and Joseph and Jesus in the manger. So we want to congratulate Michaela, and Chair Langmead and I will be presenting to Michaela at Father McMurray later this week, I believe, and give her and her family a couple of boxes of cards that they can also use to give to their family members.
Congratulations to Michaela, and I look forward to that presentation next week, and hopefully you can all see it there on your screens. We move now to, we do not have any board presentations, so we move to item number 8, school presentations. And again, I cede the floor to Superintendent MacArthur Poole.
Thank you, Chair Langmead, once again. This evening, we have our board presentation from St. Martha School. So I'd like to introduce the St. Martha principal, James Park, to introduce his team.
Good evening, everyone. We thought I've had the opportunity to work with Mike Simmons for about 17 years here at St. Martha School. Mike opened this school. He's been a phys ed teacher for, Mike, I don't know how many years, but I think it's nearing 35. And Mike plans to retire this year. So we wanted, Karen and I, and at St. Martha School, we wanted to give Mike the opportunity to talk about his philosophy on phys ed, the impact he's had on hundreds, if not thousands of kids over the years has been immense through his intramurals during the day, extramurals after school, his tournaments that he runs, and just the program that he's delivered over these many years. We wanted to give him the opportunity to talk about what phys ed means to him. There's not a lot of full-time phys ed teachers in our school division, and that's a mainstay here at St. Martha School for many, many years. So, Mike, I'm going to fire it over to you. Bear with us. Mike and I are not technologically savvy, so I think he's able to share his presentation right now.
Mike, you're on mute.
I didn't mean to hit that. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
I'm take over. I was going to get my presentation ready to go here, I guess.
No, we can see it, Mike. Great.
Can you all see that okay?
Yeah.
So I wanted to, James came to me about a month and a half ago and told me I had this opportunity, and I was excited to do so, and wasn't really sure what to put. So I just thought I would give an overview of my background a little bit, how I got to where I am, and how I feel about the phys ed program at St. Martha and how it sort of grown to be the way it is right now. So I guess I'll just get started. So who runs the program? Well, it's me, a little younger in that picture. I'm originally from PEI. I received my degree from St. FX in 1989. I was hired by Cotter McGilvery in June of that year. I worked at Father Merck for 13 years under principalship of Bernadette Provo and George McGuigan. I moved to Turcotte and I taught PE for 4 years under the principalship of Jeff Clow, and moved to St. Martha, and I've been here ever since, 19 years under Jeff Clow, Lisa Miller, and James Park. My philosophy has been developing over the years. I came out of university in my first position at Father Merck with a completely different outlook towards physical education than I currently have. Coming out of St. FX, I was taught to come in very strict as a new teacher and push the idea that I was not teaching just gym class. I was teaching physical education, which was education of the physical. And I was like a drill sergeant in those first couple of months. And it did not go well at all. I got a lot of pushback from the students, but I pushed right back because I was told to expect that, especially from my older students in grade 11 and 12, who I was very close to their age. And they were, I don't know, there was a respect issue, I guess. There was one moment, one day, one particular student who changed everything for me. A PE 20 class, it was my most difficult class, the one I struggled ended one day in mid-October. A student by the name of Chris Evely approached me and said the following phrase, and it still rings true 36 years later. He said to me, "Mr. Simmons, you need to relax. We all chose to be here. We aren't against you. We just wanted a break from our class load and have some fun. What you are giving us is not fun at all." And it was that comment that made me realize that PE is meant to be fun and fun for everyone. And I lost sight of that somewhere along the way. And I thank Chris, wherever you are, for coming out and making me realize that. So over 36 years and working with elementary for so long, this is my philosophy. This is what I believe very firmly in. And I believe that physical education in this day and age is meant to instill a love and enjoyment of simply being active. It's not meant to only develop athletes. It's meant to promote a love for play, regardless of what your physical abilities may be. Everyone has the right to experience the joy of being active. If you can develop that love of play, the benefits that come along with being active will be enjoyed by all in their own way. If being active is not enjoyable, does not put a smile on your face, you will not do it. So how do I apply this at St. Martha? Well, the best way to understand how I apply my philosophy is to look at the program from the perspective of our core values we all practice and try to instill in our students on a daily basis. We value learning, we value persons, we value responsibility, and we value community. So I'm going to approach it from those four perspectives. Number one, we value learning. In St. Martha's Phys Ed program, I have developed a course content for each division that covers a wide variety of activities that give all of the students from grade 1 to 6 the opportunity to learn in as many different ways as possible. Here's an overview of what is covered each year with my students with respect to the activities. Pickleball, dance, soccer, smooshing, elastics, low organized games, fitness, parachute, badminton, frisbee golf, rock, paper, scissors, tetherball, dodgeball, volleyball, kickball, archery, hula hoop games, baseball, foursquare, goggle ball, floor hockey, skipping, basketball, limbo, track and field. And that's only a sample, because with each one of those units that I cover, there are games within those units that give them a wide variety of opportunities to experience each one of those activities. But even more important than that, as far as the learning goes, by engaging in each of these activities and sports, they also learn the following. Being active is fun, acceptance, participation, accomplishment, encouragement. It's fun to win, support, tolerance, celebrate others' accomplishments, pride, work ethic, helping others, friendship, win with grace. It's okay to try new things and to do your best. Be humble, integrity. Success is seen at every level. It's okay to lose, and winning isn't everything. These are only some of the positive outcomes that students at St. Martha learn. Number two, we value persons. This is one aspect of my program that I take great pride in and work continuously to maintain. I believe these following things. Every student has the equal right to participate in every activity, regardless of physical ability. It does not matter how skilled or unskilled you are at any sport, game, or activity. All I expect from every student is that they give me their best effort with whatever skills they may have. And effort leads to improvement in everything my students do. Every student will encourage every other student regardless of skill level, and lesser skilled students will learn from higher skilled students, and higher skilled students, will mentor lesser skilled students through their actions. It is because of these beliefs that I try to create a safe play environment for all students to grow and learn without feeling left out, unaccomplished, fearful, scared, unwanted, and teased. And it is because of these beliefs that I try to create a safe play environment for all students to grow and learn, feeling happy, safe, welcome, accomplished, comfortable, and included. Number three, we value responsibility. I take great amount of pride in this next section. It is here where we expand our commitment to our students by giving them opportunities to learn about responsibility. We accomplish this in many different ways through our intramural program, after school clubs, hosting tournaments, and sports day. I'm going to briefly take a look at each one of those. Our intramural program. Our program here at St. Martha is run completely by grade 6 students when scheduling permits. Sometime we were just so full and the schedule is so blocked, we just can't, we're not able to do that at lunch hour. We run our intramural program during lunch, whereby 4 of our grade 6 intramural helpers come to the gym during their lunchtime. And they eat their lunch down in the gym, they set up the activity, they greet the students who are participating, they organize the team in preparation for the activity, they referee and coach the teams participating, they do any scorekeeping necessary, dismiss and walk the students back to class, and then they clean up the gym and set up for the afternoon classes if necessary. The intramural helpers rotate on a daily basis and come from one of the 4 grade 6 classes. The intramural helpers remain the same for each class until after Christmas, when new helpers are chosen. This is done to allow as many students the opportunity to participate in this program as possible. The responsibilities that I instill upon them. Before they become an intramural helper, their classwork must be up to date and maintained. No behavior issues in class. Must be on time for each intramural day. And they must show great leadership and respect to the classes that are participating. After school clubs, we provide all grade 5 and 6 students. I'd like to go more at 3 and 4, but time just doesn't allow it. There's only so many days of the week and our school is huge. We provide them with the opportunity to expand their skills by providing school sport clubs throughout the year. These are the clubs that we do offer at St. Martha. Co-ed volleyball, and this year we had 64 participants, girls and boys together. Co-ed floor hockey, 30 participants, and one team is of 12 is selected to represent St. Martha in the St. Martha Mayhem floor hockey tournament that's happening at the end of January. Boys and girls basketball, we had 58 participants last year. Badminton, 45 participants last year. And track and field, we had 40 participants last year as well. In order to participate in after-school clubs, students must first receive permission from their parents, but permission slips must also get approval from their classroom teacher, with the understanding that their schoolwork must be kept up to date and behavior in the classroom is not an issue. They must also receive a thumbs up from Mr. Park and Ms. Kelly Rose to participate in teams representing St. Martha. Schoolwork and behavior are a top priority in order to participate. This student responsibility is relayed to the students before any permission slip is handed out. Hosting tournaments. This is one of the great joys of my life. I just love doing these. If you've ever had an opportunity to come to the tournaments, the school puts in a lot of work behind these. At St. Martha, we host 2 tournaments throughout the year and take a great amount of pride in having a reputation of putting on extremely high quality tournaments. We have the St. Martha Mayhem Floor Hockey Tournament for the boys, which actually started out as being the Husky Havoc, which was the tournament that I started as a volleyball tournament at Father Turcotte when I worked there. And it came here, I switched it to floor hockey for the boys. And number 2, the St. Martha Madness basketball tournament, girls. With these 2 tournaments, we provide our students with many opportunities to learn about responsibility by either making the team and representing St. Martha at the tournament, scorekeeping. I usually go down and get students that don't make the teams. Usually in the clubs, I give them the first opportunity to do scorekeeping at these tournaments, setting up for the tournament, working at the canteen as a fundraiser. Usually the grade 5s or 6s do that to help with their end of the year trips, and painting posters for the tournament. This is just some pictures for you to show you what goes into and the work that these kids are doing. This is sort of a pre-setup for our St. Martha Mayhem. We've built some boards to actually have a rink built inside the gym. A lot of hours go into putting this together. And this is just some pictures of some kids in the past who put in their own time to come in and paint posters for the presentation of the gym whenever the teams arrive. usually we have an army of students that show up. They're also very eager, and the work that they do is beyond incredible. All I do is trace them out because I am in absolutely no way an artist. Thank goodness for overhead projectors. Some extra pictures here of the kids of the past doing up these posters, and a little bit of the detail of the bulletin boards for this tournament that goes into, shows the pride in the detail that we have. And that's the setup for the floor hockey tournament with the boards and the banners that the kids have painted. The St. Martha Madness, that's my team from last year. We ended up winning bronze, a great group of girls. And this is the team years ago. I'm a little younger there. And we won gold. That is why I do what I do. The smiles on their faces, the color of the medal or any medal around their neck at all is irrelevant to me. I love it when they win, but the fact that they got those tattoos on their faces and the smiles on their faces means everything to me. Some other kids that won MVP and All-Star of the tournament, and just some of the artwork that these kids have done. All I do is trace them. These kids come in and they do 100% of the painting of the artwork. The artwork that you'll see that follows is probably one of the most amazing thing that these kids have done. These ones were, if you're not get an idea of the size of these, they are 10 feet by 10 feet. They are absolutely enormous posters that represent all the schools that would be coming. Now they look unfinished because these are in the process of being painted. And unfortunately, these posters that these kids painted on their own time, they came in on the weekends to paint them. I calculated with all the kids and the hours that they put in painting these, they put in about 150 hours worth of work of their own time to come in and paint these posters. But they never were put up on the wall for the simple fact that COVID hit and that year's tournament had to be canceled. And by the time I got back to them, they had been moved around so much they were torn and ripped, and we never got a chance to put them up, which was sad because they put so much work into them. But they are pieces of work and artwork for these kids. These ones did go up. This is another a year previous to that the girls and guys that came in to paint did an absolutely amazing job at painting these posters. And these, again, are about 10 feet in size that went up on the walls of the gym. Value responsibility and sports day. Sports day is a huge undertaking. If you ever had an opportunity to come up to the school, it's quite the day. It's one day out of the year, but the kids absolutely love it. This is the biggest day of the year, an all day long activities event that every single student in the school participates in. And here are some of the highlights. 700 plus students from EAP to grade 5 all participate at the same time. 35 different activity stations, over 1,500 pieces of equipment, and over 20 hoses all interconnected. All classes participating and rotating to a new station every 15 minutes. 100% run by 80 plus grade 6 student leaders. Barbecue lunch is provided, cooked and organized by amazing parent and volunteers every year. Nursing station manned by certified nurses that are actual parents at our school that volunteer their time to work the first aid station. Here are just some pictures of our sports day of the years past. You can see the vastness of the backfield, completely filled with students that move seamlessly through all different stations every 15 minutes. Just a couple of different glimpses of the day in action. Those red signs that are on their side on the left, they were tables that were upright that marked the station signs, but that year it was particularly windy. So we had to put them on their side so they wouldn't blow over on top of some kids. Just some more pictures of our sports day, all the different activities that the kids absolutely love to do. And all the way from EAP. And any of these pictures that you see of anyone in a gold t-shirt are the grade 6 helpers. and they run all of the stations. They work with the kids, and they're outside in the sun, in some cases getting soaked all day, but they do an amazing job every year. Some more activities at our sports day. Some pictures of years gone past. And that picture that's on the right of those girls and myself, those are students that return. And one thing that's a testament to St. Martha that makes me very proud is that every year we have just a rush of students that return every year that want to help out, they want to participate, and they want to take part in sports day. Dozens of them come back, and if they can't help, they just want to be part of it, and they want to keep coming back. Picture on the left is our hot dog station and water bottle stations, and just a picture of the kids who have such a wonderful time during this last day of the year for our school. And these two pictures we sort of bring everyone together in the middle of the field on sports day, and we have this massive grade against grade, red shirt against blue shirt tug of war competition, and the kids actually have a wonderful time. We value community. I believe very strongly in bringing in community and involve them as much as possible to show the students it takes a lot of support to do the things we do here at St. Martha. We bring in golf instructors from Mac Island to teach in the gym, minor baseball instructors to teach in the gym, and we were actually last year we were indicated being a Blue Jays school. So we had a program with the special needs students here once a week. Parent volunteers on sports day, they come in and barbecue and hot dog prep and nursing. A lot of parents come in to help run, they want to help run stations as well. Returning St. Martha students in droves to help out with sports day and refereeing at tournaments. This year for my floor hockey tournament, it is being completely refereed by former St. Martha students. Oil Barons agreeing to set up an exhibition game with the winner of the Mayhem floor hockey tournament. Partnership with Kiana women's basketball team to volunteer to referee the Madness basketball tournament. And all the teachers who volunteer their time to come in, because when I'm running the tournament, I can't coach them. So they come in and they volunteer their time to coach them on the weekends. It truly does take a village to raise a child. In closing, I really love to do what I do, and I've been fortunate to be able to do this for so long and to have worked with so many wonderful people. And I'd like to close with a letter that I received from a student just last year, and she's now in grade 8, and I only had the opportunity to teach her 1 year as she arrived at St. Martha in grade 6. This sums up basically my entire presentation. It's not very long, so if you could just maybe bear with me. She said to me, "Hi, Mr. Simmons. I heard it's your last year at St. Martha." I was supposed to retire last year. "I know you very much deserve your long-awaited break, but I just can't help but feel sad. You taught me so much. Back then, it was my first time touching a volleyball, but now I made the Thunder U13 team. You witnessed my first basketball shot. Now I'm in the middle school basketball team for Holy Trinity. You surely made an impact in my life. Thanks to you, I found a path for myself. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't feel confident in the things that I do. You know, when someone asks me who the best teacher is, I instantly say you. All your efforts in optimizing our experience and relationship with school sports made me realize there's so much to life. After you move on and live your life, when someone asks you what you're proud of, make sure to say, I changed a life, because you truly did change mine. Louise, your former student. That's why I do what I do. Thank you very much for your time."
Thank you, Mike. That was an amazing presentation and way to make me cry at the end. I would like to ask my fellow trustees if they have any questions or comments.
Right.
Yeah, I do.
Sorry, go ahead, Kelsey.
Yeah, no, I think James summed it up when you taught thousands of children, teenagers. Miss Miller always says, "Oh, I taught you and I taught you and I taught you. But one other person that could say that in this town is you. So, you taught me in grade 10 or actually Father Mark. I graduated in 96. So, I mean, I think, you've made an impact not on just on people, but on the community. So thank you for everything you've done for the Catholic School Board, for the school you've taught at, and for all the people you've helped raise. So thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Trustee Galanzowski?
Thank you. Mr. Simmons, I just wanted to say thank you for that. That was really quite profound, actually. And I think that probably many people would approach, oh, you're a phys ed teacher, how hard can it be? But the thought that you've gone into this to change lives and bring it together to make it impactful for people, not just your students, but the teachers that work with you, your colleagues and your peers and parents and families, I think is really remarkable. And thank you for your 35 years. That's quite a legacy and a footprint you're leaving. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I cannot see my fellow trustees' hands, so I'm if either of you have anything to say, just please interject. I, however, will say my little piece. So I too, not me personally, but my children have been a recipient of Mike's tutelage in phys ed for several years at St. Martha. I volunteered as part of school council on sports day and various things, and can just say how much I appreciate everything that you do for the kids that I've seen you do over the years. You truly are one of the original Eagles, and you will be greatly missed. I hugged you last year, which is good because this meeting is virtual, so I don't know if I'll get another opportunity to when I thought you were retiring, but we appreciate everything that you've done. Your legacy, I think will stand for many years to come in Fort McMurray, and yeah, we pray that you go forth in your retirement and get to enjoy yourself. And I'm sure you'll always be welcome back to provide some like consultation on various tournaments and so forth. So thank you very much, Mike, for everything that you've done for our community and for Fort McMurray Catholic.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
So moving forward, I think we are now on item number 9, school field trips. And so I would ask Superintendent, I see the floor back to Superintendent MacArthur Poole.
Actually, we're going to skip number 9 and move to number 10 because there is a Holy Trinity Band concert tonight. So Ben is going to join us when he's able to from his concert. So we're just going to sort of keep the floor open for him when he is done his concert and he can join us.
Okay, awesome. Which now puts me on the spot because now I have to figure out how to share my presentation.
We can share it from here, Trustee.
And
Good, because I can't find it at the moment.
while we're waiting to get your presentation up on the screen, Mr. Park, Mr. Simmons, Miss Kelly Rose, if you we're done with you for the evening, so you're welcome to log off, but you're also welcome to stay on if you'd like to continue watching.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
If you want to watch me struggle. All right. Thank you all very much.
I think Vanessa's got your board chair report up.
Okay, excellent. Now I just have to find my way back to the meet again. Thank you, Vanessa, for saving my bacon. All right. So I'm providing a board chair report. My last report would have been in October. So from October 15th to December 4th, just ongoing conversations with Superintendent MacArthur Poole and updates throughout the year, or throughout the last month and a half, I guess, and providing information to my fellow trustees. I met with the newly elected president of the local Alberta Teachers Association, Jay Duffett, just as an initial meet and greet and to discuss local education issues. I attended the Grateful Advocates for Catholic Education Summit virtually. Trustee Hoffman attended in person as our board representative. Trustee Byron and I attended Father Mercredi High School's Remembrance Day ceremony. And kudos to the Father Merc students and staff as well. It was very well done, very well facilitated by a high school student as well. And Trustee Hoffman was included in the processional as a first responder. I met with the consultant, Superintendent MacArthur Poole, and I met with the consultant regarding the upcoming superintendent evaluation that will be taking place in the new year. There was attendance from the Alberta Catholic School Trustees Association Director Orientation, Board of Directors meeting, and the annual general meeting. Trustees Galanzowski, Hoffman, and I led the Saturday morning liturgy at the Alberta Catholic School Trustees Association annual general meeting. We attended the Alberta School Board Association's fall general meeting as well, where several advocacy position statements were passed relating to funding, student inequities, and student health and wellness. I attended a virtual meeting with the Education Minister and department staff regarding amendments to the Education Act and the Alberta School Board Association information session regarding the acts of the Municipal Affairs Statutes Amendment Act, Bill number 20, on locally elected public, Catholic, and Francophone school boards. In addition, and I believe I mentioned this already, that I shared correspondence with the trustees from the Minister of Education, Alberta School Board Association, parents, and other school boards in Alberta in the last month and a half. And that completes my activities and report for since October 15th. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I would ask for, I would cede the floor to Superintendent MacArthur Poole for item number 11.
Thank you. I'll just get my report on the screen. All right. We, since, I guess it is our October board meeting, we've continued meeting our responsibilities to Alberta Education. So our AERR document is ready for your review this evening. Schools are now charged with creating their AERR documents for their individual schools. We have a template that we have all of our schools follow, and they just use their AIM data that's been released from Alberta Education, and we didn't receive that until the end of October, early November this year. Our administrators have all completed their leadership growth plans based on the LQS document, and I'm going through and meeting with the leaders and discussing their growth plan with them. We just a note to our AERR document. We've been working with the System Assurance branch to make sure that our AIM data got changed. They did accidentally, I guess, or incorrectly include some of the grade 9 ELA data. And if you remember that our grade 9s were unable to write their grade 9 ELA and FLA PATs because of the evacuation that we had in May due to the closeness of the fires. So we were excused from that, but there were some errors in the reporting. So we're still working through those errors and making sure that we're reporting the correct information for you. A couple of weeks ago, we were honored to have Bishop Gary visit our school division. He had time to visit 3 schools. So we showed him Father Mercredi, Sister Mary Phillips, and École St. Paul. He was, of course, in town to do some confirmations at the parishes, both St. John and St. Paul. While he was here, he confirmed over 150 students, which was great. And we were surprised that we had 30 students that drove in from Jean-Vé-Conklin area to also get confirmed at St. John's Parish. So that was a really busy confirmation mass that evening, but everybody was confirmed. Maybe pictures weren't as in a timely manner as parents were hoping. I included a few pictures of Bishop Gary. So while he was here, he visited some high school religion classes. He also prayed with our grade 9 classrooms who had recently lost a classmate. We had an opening prayer for the S&P liturgy that he participated in. He got to practice his French speaking with the French immersion kindergarten class at École St. Paul. And then we left a cardiovascular exercise for him as he participated in a floor hockey class at École St. Paul, I think with some grade 2 students. So he had a fabulous day, and we always love to see him in our classes. He's great because he doesn't want anything specifically planned for him, and he just comes in and participates in whatever the school is doing on that particular day. So his visits are always greatly received. In terms of some big things that have happened in November and December, Carrie Morgan, who is our representative from Alberta Education, came, our North Zone Alberta Education representative, came to Fort McMurray to meet with both the Catholic School Division and the Public School Division, and to go over their education plans for the 24-25 school year. She had nothing but great things to say about our education plans. So that's was nice to hear that we met we checked all the check boxes that Alberta Education has for us. So that was a great meeting. We're continuing our JUPA, or our joint use planning meetings with the regional municipality and all of the school divisions that are with the municipality. 75 grade 7 students, so 1 class from Holy Trinity and 1 class from Father Mercredi and a few extras, attended the Louis Riel Day put on by McMurray Métis at Shell Place on November 14th, and they had a great day. I'm continuing my work with Keanu on the Aesthetics Advisory Committee, and through our discussions, we're also looking for some other dual credit opportunities for our students, similar to the dual credit opportunity that we've started or initiated this year with Grant MacEwan. And of course, we have had lots of meetings with our principal team, both virtually and we've had 1 meeting in person. Our division office team meets regularly, and we've also been meeting with Alberta Education quite a bit these last couple of weeks. And the one thing that I did want to make you aware of is I have been working on updating our administrative procedures, and one AP that really needed to be updated was our field trip AP. And we used to have one AP to encompass all of the field trips that we did as a school division, whether they were just local trips to the swimming pool or to the spray decks in town, or to as far away places as, Asia and Europe, et cetera, in an international field trip. So I took quite a few months to update the policies, and they're all linked here to look at, but probably the one, and I'll just open it up here, is our international field trip policy. There are many forms and many things that have to be covered. All of these additions to the policy are really to make sure that we have collected all of the information about our students, about the chaperones that are chosen, about how you apply to be a chaperone for these trips. We want to make sure that our parents understand their responsibilities, as well as the activities that can be planned when you go overseas or when you go on a field trip. We have a checklist for principals to follow to make sure that they've done all of, or them and their team have completed all of the steps they need to. A big change for you as a school board is that for an international trip, there are now 3 times that the trip planner will appear before the board. So today, Ben Lear is going to be doing, he's the guinea pig for our school division. He's going to be the first person who will be presenting the first level of approval. So before, we just had you approve the trip after it was planned, etc. So now with big trips, because trips are costing more money, there's more liability to the trips. So the first level of approval is now for the trip planner to talk about the trip, why they're planning the trip, the importance of the trip, and the potential cost. And once they get approval from you, then they can go to further planning and start determining how many students might want to be involved, etc. And then once they've done that, they come back to you and provide the more detailed itinerary, how many students, etc. And then the third time they'll come visit is after the trip, where they talk about the trip and what they did, bring some students, etc. So a little bit more rigor to our field trip policy, but it does cover all of the extras that we have to consider now in terms of our trip planning and liability, and making sure that our students will be safe in their travels. So if you have any questions about those APs, please let me know. And if there aren't, that is the end of my superintendent report, Chair Langmead.
Thank you. Do any of my fellow trustees have any questions for Superintendent MacArthur-Poole or comments? And seeing none, I would just like to say that having looked through your admin procedures, very much appreciate all the work that you have done, particularly in the area of school field trips. It is certainly far more robust than the policies in the past, and I think it allows for greater safety of students and staff, as well as reassurance for both parents and for and for the children that and staff that go on those trips.
Thank you.
Did I have any? I see a couple of trustees have their windows open now. Did you have any questions or comments?
No, I'm sorry. I was listening, but I just had to change locations just because it was bothering
That's
my
okay.
knee, so I apologize for that.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Okay. We would move on then to item number 12, which is the board items for decision. And I cede the floor once again to, we don't have Mr. Lear yet, do we?
No, we do not. Sorry.
Okay. Let's move on to item number 12 then, the board items for decision. And I will cede the floor once again to Superintendent MacArthur-Poole.
All right. Thank you, Chair Langmead. So we one of the tasks that we have the trustees go through is to approve locally developed courses. And in September, we had a selection of locally developed courses that we were looking for approval, but you had a few more questions about the I guess, how these courses were going to be taught and what the purpose of the courses were. So I've invited one of our teachers from Immaculate Heart of Mary, Lucas Punko, this evening, and I believe he's on the call this evening. If you have some questions, because we were looking at getting a little bit more details about smudging, Elder Chronicles 15, I think, and the medicine wheel. So Lucas, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, hi, Lucas.
Yeah.
So this is
Hey,
Lucas.
Natasha.
This is Lucas Punko, our teacher from Immaculate Heart of Mary. And he's here to answer any questions you have about the purpose of these classes. And maybe Lucas, you can maybe just talk about, I guess, what your intentions were when you you asked for these courses to be considered by our trustees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just for background, these courses kind of came to mind once we started doing a lot more land-based learning with the Nistabayou Friendship Center. And we were looking for ways that we could kind of bring that back to the schools and like get the students more credits from those opportunities. And the idea with the Smudging 15 is my vision isn't that it'd be like a structured class, like here, go do this course, learn about smudging, you'll get 3 credits. That one is more, I envisioned it as kind of happening naturally as students learn about smudging. If they show like more interest sort of thing, I would imagine that we could kind of show them to our liaison and they can discuss, well, most of them are knowledge keepers and can discuss a lot of the outcomes that are there. But it was the intention with that is that it'd be more naturally flowing. It wouldn't be a structured kind of like set time sort of thing. I envisioned it as the students kind of seeking it out as they learn more about smudging. And we have a lot of Indigenous students that already do smudge regularly or understand it from their families learning about it. There were a few questions that came up. I think the first one was, would an elder be involved with because of the Elder Chronicles there? So what I understand from looking up the Elders Chronicle, that's just the name of, there's I think 15 different locally developed courses that came, and that was kind of like the main title for them. But for this, it would be a knowledge keeper or an elder because, and I use the word knowledge keeper because not all of our liaisons or community members are comfortable with sharing those teachings. So it would really be situational, and like I'm more than happy to meet up after school with at the various high schools if there's kids that are asking these questions. I'm just pulling up the other questions here. So what is the connection to Catholicism? I watched, Natasha forwarded a podcast video and I watched that, and it's Smudging the Mass and Cultural Appropriation, the upfront with the Archbishop. And that kind of helped nail it for me. The father talked about the Sacred Heart Church, for example, and how it's important as Catholics to meet, especially for Fort McMurray with all of our First Nations that surround us and the Métis communities. It's important for us to meet our youth, especially where they're at, meet them, meet the cultures where they are. And they talked about an example of like smudging being used in a wrong way, like smudging for the sake of having it in an area. And that's not what I kind of intend with this course. It's not going to be something like we're going to fit smudging into this liturgy or anything like that. It's going to be totally separate, kind of more naturally flowing. The kids will be seeking it out themselves. And how does this connect to religion class and fit into our schools? There is the high school curriculum we have for religion does touch on like world religions, different religions in the area sort of thing. And that's kind of where I believe it would fall under within religion class. I taught religion in my first semester, and it's something that my students and I talked about, and many of them were like super happy to learn how to smudge, to gain the teachings. And those that weren't comfortable with it, we found a place for them, as just all of them are comfortable with learning about it, but the actual process of smudging, we just found a separate place to do it. And why do these modules help our kids? Again, I think it's meeting our kids where they're at and bridging these gaps, because there are a lot of Indigenous people that kind of walk in both worlds of the world of Catholicism and their spiritual world as well. And I feel that there's a lot of students or Indigenous people that still have that barrier between them and the education system, or them and like churches as well. So I think this is like another important aspect to reach those students as well when they're ready to kind of meet us. Are there any questions on that?
Did you want to speak separately to the medicine wheel course, Lucas, or does that pretty much speak to both of those?
That pretty much speaks to both. The medicine one will be more localized to our area, just because it is like there's different teachings for the medicine wheel depending on where you're from.
Okay, thank you for that. Do any of my fellow trustees have any questions for Mr. Punko?
Yeah, I do. I have my hand raised. You probably can't
Sor-
see it, but
Sorry,
I guess.
Kelsey, I'm yeah.
Lucas, I do think this stuff, I mean, this like smudging is very important to be aware and to show. I did have a couple concerns when I was looking at and I'm just going to open the screen so I could, some of the outcomes. And when it came from Elder Chronicles and some of the questions we come back in, like, say, September, wasn't really well, from my point of view, was it seemed like it was meant to be, say you were in the process of getting knowledge as to become an elder, like that's where I thought the Elder Chronicles were. But the one of the main concerns I had out of this is, if I take this course, general outcome 1.4, it says now how can I teach others to smudge? So it's almost like if you take this, you become a knowledge keeper, or like so I could see all these kids who take this course now. That was probably one of my main concerns on it, is not so much because we've learned about smudging through the different things that's going through the schools, I'm sure, like I've seen it. I guess that was probably my main concern, was you're taking on based on how the outcome is, like that. I struggled with that part, is the outcome from taking this course, not so much the course itself.
But I agree with you, Kelsey. I think the wording on that could and should be changed. The idea I kind of had with that one is not so much how can I teach others to smudge, but more of who can teach others to smudge, where, like, not so much. I totally agree with your concern, but yeah, my idea with that was just not so much the how can I teach others to smudge, but like, is it right to teach others to smudge? Am I the right person? Who's the right person? Like that kind of idea. So I think with that one, I was viewing it as, because all the kids, they often share a lot of their stuff. So if like one of their friends is saying, I'd like to learn how to smudge, with that outcome, my kind of idea behind it was like, they'd be able to point them in the right direction, or to the right person. But I totally agree with you. I think the wording would definitely need to be changed on that, just so it is clear, like who can teach others to smudge. And
yeah, and I think just to add to that, Lucas, I see it also, some of the outcomes are action based, and I think this might be that you could demonstrate how to smudge, so you've learned enough that you can actually show the process of smudging. But it is worded, and I never thought about that from your perspective, that it looks like it's, are you able to teach this to somebody else so that they can smudge? But some of, like, when you look at because this is a locally developed course, it doesn't have sort of the same articulation that some of our outcomes do from Alberta education courses, where they have knowledge-based outcomes, skill-based outcomes, etc. So this, I think they were trying to put a skill-based outcome in there, but it maybe is not worded appropriately. And I'm not sure if we have because it's a locally developed class, we have to interpret how they've written the outcome, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to teach it exactly as it, like how, I guess, how you've interpreted it. So I think that's an important thing for us to note in it for people who may want to use this as a course.
Yeah, I think, Paul, I know you got your hand up, but I just kind of want, as we get into that, it's for me is when I read it and what I'm going to approve is how it's written. So I struggle with, that's what I struggle with. It's how it's written. So,
And
if I have to do a recommendation, yes.
Yeah, we can't change the wording of it because it's not our course to change the wording of the outcome. So unless we want to make our own course and create our own outcomes, that would be what we would have to do.
And that's something that we could talk about too, Natasha, if we needed to or wanted to go that direction.
Yep, absolutely.
I'd be happy to help out.
Okay.
Okay, Trustee Galanzowski, you had your hand up?
Thanks. Yeah, I did. And most of what Trustee Janvier asked answered my questions. And then Natasha just answered my question as well. Are we allowed to adapt a locally developed course? But I really appreciate the intent and the rationale behind wanting to find a course that does this, because in our journey of truth and reconciliation, especially as a Catholic school district, and we do have in our community so many practicing Catholics with Indigenous ancestry background. Ancestry is not the word I was looking for. We have many Indigenous practicing Catholics, is what I meant to say. And I think that this would really, doing something like this, I think would really, make a lot of strides in our relationships together, and solidify our sort of commitment to that. But if there was, I would be concerned with with the way it's written as well, because then there has to be some sort of evaluation at the end or outcomes that you're going to need to look at. And I think maybe this particular course isn't the one, maybe there's another. But I do really, Lucas, really appreciate the rationale behind it and wanting to, and recognizing the need and the desire of the students.
Trustee Byron, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. So earlier this evening, we were reviewing policy together. One of the policies we looked at was when to consult the bishop for advice. And this is an area where, as trustees, we have to deem it appropriate to consult with the bishop. Now, I'm going to say that this particular topic it strikes me as really complex. I recognize there was this video that we could review called relating to the connection to Catholicism, and that was quite informative. I'm just going to suggest that it's possible perhaps we need to consider this with further advice. I certainly recognize the good intentions, but just with that policy consideration in mind, I wonder if we should first seek the advice of the bishop before moving on the matter. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so Lucas, I just have one question. So you can't change the outcomes that are in a locally developed course that has been developed by somebody else, but can you adapt it to meet your vision of what you want to be doing? Or maybe this is a question for Natasha, sorry, not so much you, but can it be adapted to meet the requirements of what Lucas envisions as taking place? I see, I recognize Trustee Byron's mentioning of policy and when we would deem it appropriate to go through the bishop. I do feel though that that particular YouTube video that we watched, again, I also found it very informative, and I very much appreciated it that it was our local Archbishop who facilitated that conversation with Father Cristino, and very much appreciated that what they had to say and their recognition with respect to smudging. Also recognizing that this isn't really related to smudging prior to attending a mass, but more along the lines of you helping to inform those students that are interested. So, Natasha, do you have anything?
Well, I think outcomes for most things, like if you go through outcomes for a science class, for an English class, etc., no two teachers will interpret the outcome in the same way. So some outcomes are very general and some outcomes are very specific. And it's only through practice and discussion with your colleagues that you really get maybe a good interpretation of what the outcome is actually saying. So we can interpret it one way, but I know this course is approved by Red Deer Catholic, it's approved by Calgary Catholic, it's approved by Edmonton Catholic. So some of our biggest school or Catholic school divisions have this as an approved locally developed course for their schools to use. So, but how they interpret it may be very different than how we interpret the outcomes. So we can't rewrite the outcomes, but our interpretation of the outcomes is up to us, and how much emphasis or how much time we want to spend on the particular outcomes. I think for us, this is a great class, or this is a great module that gives our students, I think it's a three credits. I think this one,
Yep.
This, if we have students that attend, or go to the Nistuayos Friendship Center and are with elders and with Lucas, and they're there and they're learning about smudging, they're learning about their culture and why smudging has been so important and how it's used, etc. This does allow us to give some credits to those students, because some of our students, it can be really difficult for us to find all of the non-core subject credits for them when they do go to a school like Immaculate Heart of Mary, because they don't have access to our welding labs, our construction labs, etc. So the ability to find all of those extra CTS credits and just 100 credits can be difficult. But of course it is, the concerns that you have are, valid, but that's, I think the interpretation of the outcomes can be different depending on which or who is actually teaching them. I think Kelsey also has his hand up again.
Yes, sorry, I was just waiting for you to finish.
Yeah, I would say,
Trustee Shelby?
yeah, I would say also the outcome in the medicine wheel is about teaching it. Can I teach someone? So I think for like, how do we, and I know we can interpret that, but I interpret it one way when I'm saying, this makes me able to teach someone. It's like when you have a degree in education, you can teach, right? You're certified to teach, and for me, that's it's something I'm struggling with. I think the intention is great. I think the teaching about and the information that there is very important. And I understand giving people the ability to gain credits. I think that's very good. It's just something I am personally struggling with is saying, if I take this, I can teach it.
Mhm.
And then Francois has his hand up.
Oh, thank you.
Can I just
Yes.
suggest that, assuming the board is willing, the recommendation of the motion actually adds, the interpretation that the board has. So, when we say be it resolved that we approve the following local development course to run, and then we add, at the end of the motion, with the condition that, again, whatever interpretation the board wants to make sure that is actually put into the course, so that it's clear that, again, the main concern here is that, again, the course actually doesn't lead to the outcome that you could actually teach. A student could actually teach the smudging or any other concern that the board has, but in the motion you could actually enter your interpretation, and then basically it's then the responsibility of administration and the teachers to make sure that the course is delivered following that interpretation.
Do we have, is it possible to provide that wording to the recommendation so that we could see that? Trustee Hoffman? Sorry, I was just waiting for an answer. Is it possible to see that proposed wording?
Yeah, I'm gonna work on it while you
Okay.
are still discussing.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I'm just trying to
perfect.
find it in the medicine wheel because I have it in the smudging. But I'm not sure where it's stated in the medicine wheel one.
Okay, and while you're doing that, then I would ask for Trustee Hoffman.
Yeah, I'm struggling a little bit with the idea of putting it in the recommendation and that translating to it being in the course outline. Because like Trustee Janvier had said, we're handing the course outline. That's what we're approving right now, and handing it to not just Lucas, but anybody in the future who wants to teach this course. And so they receive that course outline with the wording as it's worded, and they may not have, a board recommendation from December 2024 to go with that. And so I'm kind of left, even with that recommendation from Francois, in the same awkward position that Kelsey had mentioned, that there's some structural concerns about the outcomes with regards to the sacredness of sacred teaching and passing it on. For me, it was more, one of the learning outcomes has to do with purification, which is a difficult word, especially from a Catholic context. And so interpretation, leaving that up to the teacher that's going to be teaching it. Our policy, our mandate is to teach things from the Catholic perspective. So there's a difference between teaching world religions and what they believe versus teaching spiritual practices and how to do them that are different from a Catholic perspective. And so I'm still struggling with the content of the learning outcomes and passing them as is. So yeah, that's my those are my comments.
So just to clarify, that this course outline was approved by Calgary Catholic, Edmonton Catholic, and Red Deer Catholic as it currently stands. Is that correct?
Those are the three that I've seen it on. I haven't gone through every single Catholic school division, but it was available on their locally developed courses lists from those three school divisions. Yes.
Okay, so what kind of timeline would we be looking at for us to develop our own locally developed course, and what are the requirements for that with respect to the Department of Education?
Those are all great questions. I've never made my own locally developed courses. I only have used them from other school divisions. So it's not saying that we can't. We do. I don't know that. I'm not sure. Actually, I don't know what's involved. It's definitely something that we can look into, though.
I do know that I mean, I can only speak to I've been to presentations at both Edmonton Catholic and Calgary Catholic, both very heavily involved in ensuring truth and reconciliation and having an excellent course load for their students. So that for me it is a good indication of approval of these courses. However, I do recognize the concerns of my fellow trustees. Oh, and I see Trustee Galanzowski has her hand up. Trustee Galanzowski?
Thank you. Could we, or someone, not we, I guess you, reach out to Calgary, Edmonton, and Red Deer Catholic and consult with those districts to see if they had concerns about this, if they did, why, if they did, what, how did they resolve it, and if they didn't, why not? That might help us decide.
Yeah, we most definitely can to get some more information about them.
I mean, I do recognize what you said, that everybody's interpretation is going to be different. so that may it might just make it worse. But anyway, thank you.
So sorry, I'm not sure who had their hand up first, Lucas, if it was you or Trustee Byron.
Trustee Byron did.
Okay, Trustee Byron.
I'm wondering if there are other divisions that have considered this and decided not to offer the courses.
I'm not sure how we would determine the answer to that question, unfortunately, other than going through past minutes of their meetings. Unless somebody else can shed some light on that question, because I'm not sure how we would know that. We would only know who has approved it. So Lucas?
Hearing the feedback and the different perspectives, I would myself be more comfortable if we did kind of try taking a crack at making our own version of this, because the difference in interpretations, I totally get that. That's something that went over my head when I was reading it the first time. But I'd be more comfortable if we went that route, and I'd be happy to help if that's something that we can do.
Well,
so thank you. Sorry, thank you for that, Lucas. I think it's very, very much appreciated. I think that I'm sure when you look at it from your lens, which is you have extensive knowledge and experience in dealing with both students and with your heritage and I think we recognizing what my fellow trustees have said as well, it's important, I think, for us to make sure that we come at this from a perspective whereby it's going to be done correctly, right? For your intents and purposes and for the students. We do, however, because there's a recommendation on, we will have to do a vote one way or another, or whether, is it possible for us to make a motion to defer again? That might be a possibility. And sorry, Natasha, I did not mean to cut you off.
No, that's all right. We can, I think it might be a good idea for us to look at some of the courses and come up with maybe some 1 credit modules rather than a 3 credit module. So just have a, just for the ease of what I guess the intention of this, and maybe not go into things in as much detail as this particular one has. If we also have, not to rush us through, but we do have another locally developed course. This one is for the 25-26 school year. But if we're ready, I mean, if we don't have any more questions about the 2, we can, if they're not approved tonight, we have to defer them to the next school year, because they have to be approved before January for us to use them for the second semester. So I think by the sounds of it, there's too much in, maybe I don't know if disagreement's the right word, but there's too much concern about some of the ways the outcomes are presented. So we either vote to not approve them, or we just defer until we can create something of our own.
We do have another option, recognizing that time is tight. We do have another option to hold a special meeting. If we were to receive some feedback from the 3 divisions that are currently, or maybe 2 out of the 3 that are currently providing that course, if that might expedite this, so that should we recommend to go ahead, the course could be approved for.
I don't think I think it has to be approved at this meeting for us, because we have to apply to use them for second semester. So we can do that research if we want to pursue this for next school year, but I don't think we would have enough time to do that for this upcoming school year.
Okay. Trustee Galanzowski, I think we'll have to move forward here in the interest of time. But Trustee Galanzowski, did you have something further?
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to say, maybe this opens a can of worms, but would it be possible to, would it be agreeable or palatable if we were to approve it for the semester and review how it rolls out and what Lucas does with it? Or would that be too sort of willy?
Approvals, I think, are for a 3 or 5 year time period. So you
right. That's right. You are right about that.
Yeah. Okay. I don't see any further comments on that. I think Lucas, regardless of the outcome of our decision here this evening, we very much appreciate all that you do for the students. And having been the recipient of a child who has been taught by you, very much appreciate all that you do and all that you are bringing for the kids. I think, Natasha, we should probably just go to the recommendation then at this point, right? And vote.
Well, we have a 3rd course that we haven't talked about yet, but we don't need
that
for this one.
So that one can be done separately, right? Okay. All right. Absolutely. And I truly do hope that regardless of the outcome of the vote this evening, that you moving forward with working on a locally developed course, I think that would be excellent. That'd be excellent under your cap, but as well, I think with your extensive knowledge and just I know the community base that you have, with elders through the community and with your other aunties and uncles amongst our community, and their knowledge and experience, that I think you would you are well placed, I think, to provide us with a locally developed course that would meet the needs of both our division and the students in our area. So I would ask for a trustee to provide the recommendation. And I would ask for everybody to have their cameras on, please, so that we can vote, because I can't see you otherwise.
Should I leave before the vote?
No, you're welcome to stay.
Okay.
We're not
Sorry.
closed. We're open session, so
Sorry, Kathy, I don't have my camera, so I'm just gonna have to voice my vote.
okay, thanks. Thank you. And who else do I
Ah.
can only see Trustee Galanzowski, so I got to figure out how to fix my screen here.
I think if you just hit the view button, you'll be able to.
I'm just doing full screen. Okay.
If you exit the full screen, you should be able to see it.
So I can't see you. Oh, I guess you can do thumbs up, I guess. Is that what you're thinking of doing, Kelsey? Because I don't see your
No, I can
face
see
area.
you on the. I can see Paula. I
Interesting.
can see Tim. I can see you. Must be
Okay.
the size of the screen or something.
I can't see you. I can't see. All right, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this by voice then, I guess. So if I could ask a trustee, please, to provide the recommendation.
All right. Be it resolved that the Fort McMurray Catholic Board of Education approve the following locally developed courses to run from first approved year through the last year approved with the authorized resources as per the course outline: Smudging Elder Chronicles 15 and Medicine Wheel 15.
And all those in favor? And opposed?
Opposed.
With respect,
Opposed,
yeah, with
yeah.
respect,
Yeah.
opposed.
Opposed at this
absolute-
time.
Absolutely, with respect. So Lucas, that's not a hard no, it's a soft one.
Well, I think it's the right, definitely needs to be reworded. And yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for all the feedback and everything. And I'll be chatting with Natasha, and I'm sure we'll be back in the future with more.
Absolutely. And again, we very much appreciate your time and yeah, we look forward to seeing you again in the new year at some point.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you. Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas.
Thank you very much.
All right, we move now to item number 12.2, and I cede the floor once again to Superintendent MacArthur Poole. And you're muted.
Sorry, we have one other locally developed course that we've been offering. So this is just like a renewal of the course. So this is engineering and design that is offered through our Science and Technology Center at Father Merck as part of their pre-engineering. Yeah, pre-engineering. So it's at 1,000 level. So it would be probably for grade 10s or grade 11s if they've never taken the course before. Is there any questions about the course?
No, not that one. I reviewed the outline.
No, it looks fun.
Okay, seeing no questions, I would ask for a trustee to provide the recommendation.
Be it resolved that the Fort McMurray Catholic Board of Education approve the locally developed course Engineering and Design to run from first approved year through the last year approved with the authorized resources as per course outline.
And all those in favor?
Agreed.
In favor.
In favor.
Sorry, trustee Byron, I didn't catch yours.
You're muted too.
I am in favor.
Okay. All right,
you.
thank you. Seeing that one has passed, we move now to item number 12.3.
Did you want a recommendation?
Yes, I think we'd do the recommendation and
Yeah.
then we would ask, we'll cede the floor to Superintendent MacArthur Poole.
So we are looking for our audited financial statements to get approved this evening. The audit committee. I'm a loss for the name of our official committee here. Had a presentation from Myers Norris Penny with Francois Gagnard, our Secretary Treasurer, to explain the process and to go over the numbers on our financial statements. So we are just looking for approval for this document this evening.
Thank you. And I would ask for a trustee to provide the recommendation.
Be it resolved that the former Catholic Board of Education approved the 2023-2024 audited financial statements as presented.
Thank you, Trustee Janvier. You're just hitting it out of the park with the recommendations today. Is there any discussion on this item? And seeing none, I would ask for those in favor to please raise your hands or voice your approval.
In favor.
In
In
favor.
favor.
In favor.
Aye.
Thank you. And that is moved. We move now to item number 12.4. And I cede the floor again to Superintendent MacArthur Poole.
Thank you. So the financial statement is part of our AER document that we have for your approval this evening. But before we have approval of the document, Matt Campbell and Danielle Mazco are with us this evening to kind of give a little bit of an overview of some of the highlights of the AER document and to have any to take any questions on the process. So the three of us can answer any of the questions that you might have after the presentation about the document. So I'm going to pass it over to Matt Campbell and to Danielle Mazco, our two directors of curriculum and instruction.
Thank you, Natasha. I'll just share my screen if I can. Okay, good evening, everyone. We just wanted to give you a brief overview of our Alberta Education Results Report for the 2023-24 school year. So you've seen the report, and we will go over some of the highlights for you this evening. So starting out, our Division AERR begins with our required domains that are outlined by Alberta Education. These required domains are looking at our local and societal context, our faith throughout our Catholic school division, our student growth and achievement, our teaching and leading, our learning supports, and our governance. So those are the main areas that Alberta Education lays out for us that we must report on for the previous school year. And from there, we can then expand upon any local data that we also have gathered throughout the school year. We take all of that information in those required domains, and we report on our three pillars that we've been working on in our 3-year education plan cycle. So our faith and wellness, our learning excellence, and our teaching and leading excellence. This report, our AERR for this year, is on year 2 of that education plan, so last year's education plan, and how we use the data to inform our education plan for this current school year. So to give you a little bit of overview and some highlights, we wanted to start out with where we gather all of this information from. Our data sources come from a couple of areas. We have our required measures from Alberta Education. So like I said, they require us to report on some certain areas. This comes in our annual AEA survey, which is sent out to our grade 4, 7, and 11 parents and students. It is also sent out to all teachers, and this also gives us our overview of our PAT and diploma results. This comes in the form of our colored report cards, and there's lots of information that we gather through those reports that we are then required to report on. We also use our own local measures through our education plan survey that we send out to all of our stakeholders. So we send this out every year to all of our parents and guardians, our grade 4 through 12 students, all teachers and leaders, and all support staff. So we're looking for additional information from all stakeholders rather than those smaller subgroups of the grade 4, 7, and 11 students. So this gives us a little bit more information to dig deeper into some of the areas. There are some questions that we ask that are similar to what is on the AEA surveys, and then we dig into additional areas where we would like to see how we're doing in certain areas or look ahead and gain some baseline data. For the previous school year, when we sent out our surveys, we had good results in terms of how many respondents we had to those surveys. So anywhere from our 1,490 grade 4 to 6 students, all of our teachers and leadership, we had great results. And you can see here that that represents a certain percentage of our overall stakeholder group. And each year we strive to find different ways to ensure that we are getting those surveys out and getting the most respondents as possible so that we can get a large stakeholder group to have a true set of data to look at. One thing that you'll notice different this year in our AERR is that we did compile the data, not only in the previous years where we've reported our data in those wheels that shows our strongly agree, disagree, and strongly disagree, but we've compiled the data this year to show our trends over the past 3 years. So we have now 3 years of data from these surveys that we've compiled into bar graphs to show our trends over the last 3 years so that we can start to see where we're seeing improvements or where we're seeing areas of growth that we may want to narrow in on. So with that, you'll see this year's report has a lot more data to draw from. And those bar graphs represent the sum of our agree and strongly agree. So those bars are those two areas so that we can see where we are making growth there. So the first area that we look at is our faith development. And you can see this is a snapshot of some of the questions that are asked of our various stakeholders. So our parents, teachers, leaders, and our students, we try to have similar questions that are asked of each of our stakeholders so that we can see the different perspectives on different areas. So in terms of enhancing our faith, we can see that we've made some great strides in many of our stakeholders. Another thing that we did differently this year was we did separate out our data to see the difference between our grade 4 to 6, our middle school and our high school students so that we can narrow in on where some of the areas of concern might be. So in previous years, we did combine and have all of those stakeholders combined together as students, but we did separate that out so that we could see the differences in where this is. So when we look at our stakeholder data for our faith, we can see that we've made some great improvements in some areas, and we can attribute this to many things that we've been working on, including having a continuous 3-year faith theme. This has really helped our students to, grasp onto the faith theme, have a really good, solid understanding as to what we're talking about when we are working through different activities through our faith theme. And so we know that our activities have really allowed our students to know what we mean when we talk about doing small things with great love. It becomes part of our school's liturgies and celebrations. And it has become part of our whole entire school division, which helps contribute to some of these areas. We've also had significant work with Nick Murphy, our division faith, permeation, and religious education coordinator. He has worked very hard to continue to build relationships with our parish priests. All of our schools have great relationships with them now and are working very closely with them throughout the school year. Our sacramental prep has been carried out in classrooms so that we have all of our students in grade 2 and 3 experiencing that sacramental prep. While not all of them may go through the sacraments in the church, they're all going through that process with their teachers. And that's brought that faith component into our schools quite significantly. We've also had, in the past couple of years, we've added a second year to our teacher mentorship program. So our new teachers now go through a 2-year mentorship program. And in the second year, they actually work with Nick Murphy, again, to look at their vocation as Catholic educators. And so this has helped to develop the faith side of our new teachers so that they can look at the 5 marks of the Catholic educator and get a true understanding of what it means to be a Catholic teacher within our school division. So a lot of these things have helped to contribute to what has been happening in our school division and the improvements that we've seen in the division.
Okay, changing gears. Good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here. We're going to talk now a little bit about our provincial achievement test results and diploma exams for the 2023-24 school year. Before we get into that, we think it's important to set some context for these results because we did have a few unique things that happened last year that have affected the way that these results are being reported in our AIM report from Alberta Education. So first, last year was the first year of new curriculum implementation in grades 4 to 6 for English, language arts, and literature and math. And as a result of that, Alberta Education did cancel the grade 6 ELAL and math PATs last year. So there are no results available for those two. We did receive word a couple of weeks ago that these tests are proceeding this year. So it'll be our first year of PATs with that new curriculum in grade 6. As well as a school jurisdiction, we chose last year to pilot the French immersion, language arts, and literature curriculum. And any piloting school was exempt from writing PATs. So we did not write PATs there last year. And that means this year is year 1 of implementation officially across the province for FELAL. And similar to the decision the ministry made last year, they are not going forward with a PAT in FELAL for this particular year across the province. We'll get our first iteration of that next year. So that's why we're only really reporting science and social studies in grade 6, because that's the only PATs that were written last year. Now, turning to grade 9 for a moment, that is a different unique factor that occurred in our results, and that was the result of the wildfire that occurred in our region in May of last year. Natasha referenced this a little bit earlier. So our students did not write Part A of grade 9 ELA, and our FLA grade 9 students at Holy Trinity did not write Part A either. And the ministry does not have to report results. So what that means is there are no results available for grade 9 ELA or FLA either. And that has had some impact on the overall achievement reporting for our grade 9. So we've been working with the ministry a little bit to find out how the intricacies of that look in our kind of year over year data set, given that we had, 300 or so grade 9 students enrolled in ELA. However, none of them wrote the PAT, and they do some things in the background of all their stats that account for that. So one of the things the ministry has done is they've removed ELA and FLA from the calculation on our 3-year rolling average in PATs. So they've suppressed it out of there, so it won't be reflected. They didn't take it out of our overall profile. So if you do look at the overall profile, you will see a bit of a disparity between our average as a school jurisdiction and that of the province, but that's because all of those grade 9s who didn't write the grade 9 PAT and ELA are being considered as such, right? So they did say that, when we're reporting results to our board or to the public, to make sure we caution and inform people that things look a little bit different in that data set, and it's not telling the whole story. So we'll share some of that other details of the story with you this evening that you can't see in the charts. So moving now then to a quick overview of grade 6. As we mentioned, there are only 2 assessments to report on, and we generally were within 10% of the provincial average in both science 6 and social studies 6. So that is pretty good in our view. Certainly there are still some strides that can be made, but that is something that we've seen some improvements in our science and our social studies from last year to this year. Now, it's interesting, and you're going to see this as a common thread in some of the other things we share this evening. Generally speaking, our averages are higher this year than they were last year, so we are improving. However, there was some significant growth in the provincial average for some of the assessments this year relative to last year. So while we are growing, we are lagging behind the provincial averages in some of the courses, which is showing us below the provincial average, but we are still making some gains, which is great to see. So grade 6 science and social studies are on the screen now, and I think we will move, Danielle, please, over to grade 9. So because we don't have those combined averages in grade 9, we're just going to quickly reference each of the individual subjects that were written. What you can see on the screen now is Science 9 and K&E Science 9. Again, generally speaking, we're within 10% of provincial averages in most of the benchmarks. In this particular one, I think it's important to point out that our students who identify as First Nation, Métis, and Inuit in K&E Science 9, they were 23.5% above provincial average at the level of standard of excellence. So we wanted to note that because that's very, very impressive. So Science 9, pretty much stable relative to last year, and we're still doing some work there. Then we can take a look at Social Studies 9. It's a similar story. We're within about 10% of the provincial average in most regards. Again, we've made gains from last year, but are still lagging a little bit behind the provincial averages in the other school jurisdictions. And for math, math continues certainly to be a priority focus for us. It is an area of growth. As you can see, we are just about 14% below provincial average on the acceptable standard. So there are lots of things that Danielle will share a little bit about in a little bit, about some of the work that we're doing with our grade 9 teachers, our high schools in general, but specifically looking at some of the things that we're doing to support instruction and assessment in math. It's important to note that the math PAT does have that part A, which is the math fluency kind of timed no calculator assessment that the ministry introduced probably 8 or 9 years ago now, and that does cause some stress for our students, and it is a particularly difficult aspect of that provincial achievement test. So we're not necessarily surprised to see that math is the one that our kids are struggling the most on. With the new curriculum that's been introduced in Division 2, there's a huge focus on no calculator and strong math fluency. So we expect as our students come through that new curriculum and start building through the new curriculum that will be coming in middle school very shortly, that we will start to see gains in our math scores as well. And then diploma exams will be relatively brief here. We're just presenting in this presentation the combined analysis. So we would be here all night if we went through each of the 30 level courses, and you can see the individual charts within the actual document. But when we take a look at our combined analysis, we are showing some good gains in our view. So you'll notice that last year we were at the acceptable standard level, 10.8% below provincial average, and we've closed that by almost 6 percentage points this year. So there have been improvements in our diploma exam results. We are watching our students who are learning English as an additional language quite closely, because we're starting to see some concerning trends there specifically. But overall, we think things are heading in the right direction with our diploma exams. While we've not presented subject-specific ones this evening, we do want to highlight in the meeting that we've had extensive improvement in Math 30-1, Chemistry 30, and FLA 30. So we're quite pleased with the gains that we made in those courses. Now moving on briefly to high school completion. So this report, we always do very well in high school completion. It is kind of a shining star of us here in Fort McMurray Catholic about how well our students do on their 3-year and 5-year completion. This is one of the first times in a little while that we've seen kind of a red color on this particular report card, but we just want to make sure that that we make the point that we are still doing significantly better than the provincial averages. When Alberta Ed determines those measure evaluations, it's compared to our result this year is compared to our own previous results. So you'll notice that in 2020, our overall 3-year completion was 94%, and now it's 88%. So because we've slid down a bit, about 6 percentage points, they are saying we've declined and now it's an issue. But you'll notice that this year we're still 8% above provincial average for our completion rates. So we are doing pretty well, but we're going to keep a very close eye on this to make sure that this is not a trend that is going to continue. Because we want to make sure that our completion rates stay as high as they have been in the past. And again, we're looking at our English as an additional language learners quite closely. You'll notice that that's about a 10% downward in the last 3 or 4 years or so. But we should note that the 5-year completion rate for our EAL students is still very, very high. And one of the priorities we have in our school jurisdiction is that we won't always program a student who's learning English as an additional language over 3 years. Sometimes we look at a 4-year pathway so that they have the time to learn a bit more deeply, get the courses that they need to be successful after high school, improve their overall academic performance. And I think that's one of the reasons why we can see that we're still doing well at that 5-year completion rate. So that kind of concludes the PATs, diplomas, and high school completion. And I'll throw it back over to Danielle.
So the next area that we report on kind of since COVID, and it's been under a few different names, is our early literacy and numeracy assessments. This began after COVID with the Learning Disruption Grant. And so we've been doing ongoing assessments on our grade 1, 2, and 3 students. It has changed year to year, whether we're looking at specifically 1 to 3 or 1 to 5. But this is our kind of 2-year glance at our students that have been identified at risk at the beginning of the year versus the end of the year and how many months of growth we have seen. So this year we had a significant number of students, or this past year, sorry, we had a significant number of students who were identified at risk in the area of numeracy. When we received the Learning Disruption Grant, our schools decided to take a significant focus on using that intervention time to tackle the numeracy goals that we were seeing in our students. So you can see that we had significant growth in that area of numeracy for our students from the beginning of grade 1, 2, and 3 to the end of the year. We saw a great number of students that were no longer identified at risk by the end of the year. So we're very proud of those results. And we can see that over the years, a few years ago when this first started, we were given $495,000 for our grade 1 to 3 students to tackle these learning disruption interruptions. And we were able to do a lot of intervention with that, including hiring 5 long-term interventionists. We had 93 days of intervention, 159 days of release to allow for our teachers to learn intervention strategies, get some professional development. And we also ran some No School Friday camps. This grant significantly declined throughout the years. So the following year, we were only given a quarter of that money, but we're still able to hire some interventionists using less time for that intervention. We've then reduced last year. The money was spread out over our students in grade 1 to 5 who were identified at risk. So a little bit less per student as we were identifying more students in more grades. So at that time, we were only able to hire 4 interventionists to work for 44 days each. But in those 44 days, we saw significant growth in those numeracy results as they tackled helping our students make those improvements. For this school year, our number of students that we've been applying for that grant has reduced significantly. So that's good to see that we're applying for less students. That means that less of them are being identified at risk, but the amount of money has also been reduced. So this year, we have only received $53,000 for this grant, and we're going to use that money to continue our current literacy programming. And so to continue to make strides in this area, we've also taken the time to do additional professional development for our literacy EAs to ensure that the strategies and interventions that they are doing are best aligned with what is happening in the new curriculum and will have the most impact on student learning. So we've done some training with them a few times over the last little bit and have just used this money to continue that. And part of the long-term goal is to have our literacy EAs also learn some numeracy strategies to help support in both areas so that we can help to continue to tackle the literacy and numeracy gaps that we see in our students. So in response to a lot of this academic data, we take our teacher professional learning very seriously, and our modified calendar really helps us to have a robust teacher professional learning plan. And so there's many ways that we have looked at our data and made decisions to make sure that we're having the most impact on student learning. So you can see here that we've got a steady increase in the opportunities that leaders see in the professional development that we're providing for our leaders. So we've put a significant focus on ensuring that our leaders feel confident and competent in supporting the professional development and the implementation of curriculum in their schools. And we can see that the teacher satisfaction has remained relatively stable. We've made some adjustments year over year to try to find the best fit for finding that professional development for our teachers. And I'll go through some of those things that we've been doing because we feel like we found kind of a good strategy that is helping to tackle some of these areas. We've also had a lot of focus with our teachers on their professional learning communities. So while we have some division level professional development that really narrows in and focuses on the areas that we want to make progress in. We also put a lot of effort into having teachers have the ability to have some choice and autonomy in the professional learning communities that they take part in, so that they can have personalized professional development that supports their growth. And this is also supported by our administrative teams who meet with those groups, check in to see what support they need in their professional learning communities, and we try to navigate additional support to help them have the most impact on student learning. And then you can see that we've also made a lot of growth in our leadership data there in terms of our, last year we had Leadership Formation Fridays to allow for professional development for our leadership team in the areas of instructional leadership. And so that's carried forward into some tweaks that we've made this year to that model as well. So just to take a look at what we've been doing to tackle some of these areas. Our collaborative learning cohorts, we started this last year, and we had large groups of teachers that we assigned to different cohorts that were division-driven professional development in areas of concern that we saw in the data. And so really tackling the areas that we felt like teachers needed professional development, and they had identified in self-reflections to help move things forward, whether it was with new curriculum, with high school standard setting, tackling some of those areas that Matt talked about in terms of math instruction. So for example, we have a target collaborative learning cohort working with our middle school and high school math teachers to look at instructional practices to help support in that area. So those have been focused, really data-driven cohorts of teachers that we've been working on to move division priorities forward. We also have our professional learning communities, which I spoke about, which helps our teachers to have that individualized learning to move their own priorities forward and have that professional autonomy to become better educators themselves. This year, with less funding from new curriculum, but still trying to be creative in the ways that we are pushing forward in terms of new curriculum understanding. So last year we had lead teachers in each building that took on the role of either lead numeracy or lead literacy teacher in each building. Without the allotment of time allowed this year, we've taken on a different model, but still following a similar pathway where each month we've been attempting to have meetings based on new curriculum priorities, where leaders in each building can identify a lead person in the specific area of professional development that we've been providing. So for example, outcome-based assessment, we gathered one teacher from each school to come and receive some training on outcome-based assessment. And then it is their responsibility in their schools during the school-based time, or at some point that is determined by the admin team, to disseminate that information to the rest of their teachers. Through this model, we've been able to identify a lot more leaders in different areas because it's responsive to the specific targeted area that we are providing professional development in. And so we've had a lot more teachers be able to have this opportunity to come and be leaders in different areas. We have also worked really hard this year to delve deeper into our new curriculum understanding through the conversations around outcome-based assessment. So with the new curriculum, Alberta Education has said that it is our responsibility to assess and report on outcomes. And so we've really, now that we are a couple of years into new curriculum, with our Division 1 and Division 2 teachers, we've been starting to facilitate a lot of conversations around coming to common understandings of standards that are expected from the curriculum. And through that, we've also pushed our Division 2 teams into using live reporting of marks through EDSB gradebook. And so many of our schools this year have moved to being able to report live to parents through EDSB for our grade 4 to 6 parents, so that they can see how their child is doing on an ongoing basis rather than just at that report card time. So this is helping to deepen our understanding and having lots of collaborative conversations amongst teachers as to what they're assessing and reporting on in terms of that new curriculum. We also have had a significant focus on instructional leadership development for our leaders in each of our schools. So this year we took on a little bit of a different model to have some full day leadership meetings that gives us additional time to gather leaders together and have deep conversations about curriculum implementation, instructional leadership, supporting teachers, so that we can build the capacity of our leadership team as well to support the teachers through all of these, this new implementation. And then we also had our high school teams, as a response to some of the data that you've already seen, identify significantly in their education plans the need to look at blueprinting, item analysis, setting standards amongst all of their teachers. And so that's become quite a big project where both of our high schools are working together on the PLF Fridays, along with our division team and a consultant through APLC. To look at blueprinting, item analysis, coming up with great question types to ask students on midterms and final exams and unit tests, and really having great conversations about setting standards as to what is expected of students for outcomes in various areas. So that's been a great undertaking that we've been working on those high school teams with this year.
Turning now briefly to student engagement. Considering our trends over the last 3 years in student engagement, generally speaking, our parents and teachers do perceive that the students in our school division find schoolwork engaging. You'll notice that 85% of parents and 90% of teachers strongly agree that our students find work engaging. A little bit of a disconnect between teacher and parents' view on that and what our students are reporting to us that they're experiencing. So you'll notice that it's not too bad, but certainly we're curious about that disparity. We've got about 67%-ish of our grade 7 to 12 students who are reporting that they find schoolwork engaging and interesting. A little bit of a higher score from our grade 4 to 6 students on that one. Nevertheless, looking at it holistically, we think the data set's looking pretty good. We did want to note there that you'll notice there was a rather not stark, but a bit of a decline from last year to 2 years ago to last year for our grade 4 to 6 students. We attribute this to new curriculum implementation. So last year was the first year of ELA and math for our grade 4 to 6 students. And certainly we expect that this is going to grow further as we get more and more comfortable with that new curriculum, especially our grade 5s and 6s who were doing, our poor grade 6s were doing new grade 6, but having done old curriculum up until grade 5. So there was lots of gap filling and things like that the teachers had to address. And that could certainly have affected the way the students perceived their own, enjoyment and engagement with what was happening at school. So we expect that to tick back up. And certainly we're always working with our school teams to talk about how we can further engage our students in their learning. Turning now to safe, caring, and inclusive schools. We're only going to highlight a couple things here for the purposes of time, but there's lots of other data in the actual report that you may find interesting. For our initial one, which is academic support, generally speaking, we as a school jurisdiction do quite well in how all of our stakeholders perceive the academic supports that they receive at school. So our parents, about 87% of our parents strongly agree that their children get the help and support they need to be successful. And for the most part, our students in grades 4 to 12 would agree that there's somebody at school that they are able to seek support from for those academic needs. Turning for a moment to mental health support, when we take a look at students from grade 4 to 12, there is an incline in this trend in the degree to which our students agree or strongly agree that there's somebody at school that can support them when they're anxious or nervous or feeling any other sorts of things that could use intervention from that mental health perspective. We think that this attributes to the great work that our student services team and our school counselors do. It's well known that historically we've had a bit of a challenge in recruiting and retaining school counselors, but we're delighted that last year and this year we've had a relatively stable team, and that's allowed these counselors to really put in some great programs and initiatives across all schools and to form really great relationships with our students. So we're happy to see that data has increased.
We also include information about our truth and reconciliation work within our school division. And so you can see here that, we have relatively stable data in terms of our awareness of calls to action across all of our stakeholders. You can see that there is a little bit of a dip there again in our grade 4 to 6 students, which again, we can contribute a little bit to new curriculum implementation. Again, it was the beginning of new curriculum. And so teachers were trying to figure out the interpretation of the outcomes. And now there's been a lot more focus across the province, even on looking at the elements of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit outcomes that are built into those curriculum outcomes. So we hope to see some improvements in that area as there's more professional development available in those areas as well.
And then finally, our last highlight is on parental environment. We've got 4 data sets to show you here. Looking at them holistically, generally our parents agree or strongly agree that they are, sufficiently involved in the day-to-day education of their children. Particular, we've got 95% of our parents who are saying that they feel welcome at their child's school, which we're happy to see. You can notice that, back earlier when we were just emerging from COVID, that was not as highly rated, but now we can show that our parents are being welcomed back into our schools. One thing to note there is there's been a bit of a decline in the satisfaction of our parents with the degree to which they're involved in the development of their child's ISP, IPP, or ISSP. We have introduced some initiatives this year to address that particular data metric. We've rejigged some roles and responsibilities on the system leadership team. We've introduced a second director of student services. We've launched a new platform for ISPs, which make them more accessible and more easily looked at by parents at home. And so we do think that we will see that data improve in our next round of surveys, which will be coming up later this year. So with that, that was a lot. I think it was a little bit longer than Danielle and I practiced it to be, so we apologize. And yeah, of course, we're here. Natasha, Lisa, Francois, we're all able to address any questions that you may have about what we presented on or other things you noticed in the report that we didn't touch on this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Danielle and Matt. That was a very robust presentation. Do any of my fellow trustees have any questions or comments at this time? Trustee Galanzowski?
Thank you. I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to say yes, that this is very comprehensive and thorough. So I appreciate that because it gives us feel like it's given us a much clearer picture than we've had in a long time. And I know that, over the years you develop and it becomes better and better each year. So the work that you guys put in is exceptional. So thank you.
Matt and Danielle deserve a big pat on the back for our division's use of data and how to present it in a way that everyone can understand. So not everybody's so articulate at data as Matt and Danielle and understanding what it means. So with their charts and the variety, and how they present the data, I think it really helps all of us, including our teachers, including our parents, including our principals, how to what the data is telling us and how we can make improvements in our education plan. So they've really worked hard at how we use data and how we showcase the data that we've collected. And I think that's really evident in their presentation and in our AERR documents as well.
Again, thank you both very much. I don't see any further comments or questions. Trustee Hoffman.
Sorry, just a question, and I apologize. I feel like I've asked this question before, either last year or the year before, and it just has to do with the quality of the question and gathering more specific data. I understand that we're looking to have the same question so that we can compare year to year the different results, but in some of the areas like the teacher professional development or the faith, the questions are a bit more open-ended, open for interpretation. And I'm wondering if there's ever been like a follow-up question that might be more year specific. So if it's a question about being satisfied with the professional development for the year, perhaps the professional development for the next year is going to be incredibly different, and a sub question might clarify some of that data in terms of like what did we change that improved the data, or what was it specifically that wasn't that led to low perhaps a low score. I don't know if that makes sense, but
In terms of professional development, we not only ask these survey questions that are, this kind of multiple choice surveys, but we often, after each professional development opportunity, to ask for feedback from our teachers. So we've gathered specific feedback on our collaborative learning communities, on our PLCs, and we've asked that feedback from our teachers and from our principal and leadership teams. So that's also helped to define kind of how we make changes year over year. We certainly also, we look at the questions that we ask each year and try to make them as best as we can. So without trying to change it too much, because we are trying to see some year over year trends as to how things are working. So we've introduced some different questions as the years have gone on, and we've kind of removed or got rid of the wording in some of the questions as we've seen some of the results not showing us what we're actually looking for. And now that we're, this is now the third year of this education plan. So looking forward to next year, we will be developing a whole new education plan for a new 3-year cycle. So we are looking at ways of collecting data in different ways to inform that new education plan, and to gather different stakeholder information as well, to dig a little bit deeper into some of those. So it's certainly a process that we're looking at to kind of further refine and move forward with more stakeholder input for sure.
And if I could add to that for a moment, Danielle, one of the other things to think about with this kind of broad division-wide survey is sometimes we view it as a screener almost, because each year in April, May, we bring our administrators together and we go more deeply into these results, and we say, okay, what do you think is underneath this particular data set, right? So if we've got 80% of our parents saying this, what do you think in your experiences being on the front line, so to speak, are driving that? But then we also provide each school with their own specific data set, and they model the same thing with their staff. So that idea of using this as the initial screen at the division level, but then also at each school level, we get a lot of qualitative data back from those conversations. So then we take that back from our schools, from engagement with our leaders, and we code it all, and we bring that back into our strategic plan as well. A bit harder to present that in these reports because it's very anecdotal, but we do try to, dig through the ambiguity of some of these kind of broad questions and get down to the nitty gritty of it if we can.
awesome. Yeah, that's a great answer. Thank you.
So I think my one question would be, from a governance perspective, what do you see that we could do as your trustees and elected officials to help further the cause, should we say, with respect to our AERR results? Is there any specific weakness or any specific strength that we could move forward on with respect to our roles in advocacy and governance?
Natasha, we'll let you handle the governance question.
We were discussing that a little bit earlier today, and I think when we look at the AERR, the thing that I guess that's coming up that worries us is all of the expectations in assessment that our teachers are going to have to undergo in the literacy and numeracy assessments that the province is initiating in kindergarten, grade 1 and grade 2, etc., and all the way up to grade 6. They become very daunting. For example, our kindergarten assessments On average, you're going to take at least a week's worth of time out of the classroom from the classroom teacher to complete. I think maybe that's even an underestimate. So that the time that's involved in completing these assessments is a really big worry to us, and that's something I think that we might be asking for some advocacy on behalf of our teachers in the near future.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any further questions or comments? Again, thank you both so much for taking time this evening to provide us with that presentation, and for all the work you've done on the report and the data set. And I don't see any other comments, so I would be looking for a trustee to provide a recommendation, please, for approval.
Be it resolved that the Fort McMurray Catholic Board of Education approve the 2023-2024 Annual Education Results Report, AERR, as presented.
And all in favor?
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
And that is moved. Thank you very much. We move now to item 12.5. And I cede the floor once again to Superintendent MacArthur Poole.
Get all my computer screens up and running here. Just a moment. So 12.5 is
the borrowing resolution.
Borrowing resolution. So I think I will pass this over to our Secretary Treasurer, Francois Daniel.
Yep. Just every year that we.
Sorry, Anthony raised his hand.
Sorry, I'm just. I saw Mr. Lear jump on. I just wanted to be respectful of his time. If he is there, if he wanted to give his presentation quickly, so he can continue on with his evening.
Thanks for that, Anthony.
I mean, I am here, but I also I'm by far the least paperwork as weird as that is, the least paperwork person in this room right now. So I can go whenever.
I think we're happy to cede the floor to you through Natasha, if everybody else is okay with that, so that you can continue on with your evening, Ben.
All right. Thank you very much.
I'll just pass it to Natasha first so she can introduce you. Protocol, you know.
Thank you, Chair Langmead. So normally our principal would be introducing Ben, but just with the intricacies of a virtual platform and not knowing when things are going to happen, we have Ben Lear from Holy Trinity. This is, again, as we went through a little bit earlier this evening, Ben is the first teacher who is doing the first stage of an international trip proposal to you under our new AP. So with this presentation this evening, there's no PowerPoints, there's nothing that needs to be fancy. This is basically, Ben is going to tell you about a trip that he would like to take, why he wants to take it, and some of the little just high level details, just to give you a general idea of the trip and whether it is something that you think he can pursue in more detail in the upcoming weeks. So I'd like to introduce to you Benjamin Lear, the band teacher at Holy Trinity High School.
Hi. Okay, so bear with me as I go through this, because just like it's new to you, new policy framework this year, it's a little bit new to me, and Luann and I have already tried to variously tear out our hair over making sure that all the forms get filled out. So we'll try and do it justice. So following all the policy stuff in the AP 262 section, we are proposing a trip for the Holy Trinity Senior Band to travel to Europe, specifically the cities of Edinburgh, Glasgow, and London in spring 2026. In the senior high program of studies, there are multiple references to appreciating the value of music, sharing it with others, studying masterworks of the literature. And Europe, particularly England, in regarding wind band music, is one of the great centers for this. So in preliminary kind of research mode for this, we have put together a list of locations and places and a proposed itinerary to take the band to certain places. For instance, one of the items when we theoretically go to Glasgow will be to visit the National Scottish Piping Centre. Trinity has had a strong tradition over the past few years. We've been lucky enough to have a few members of the local pipe band come in and work with the kids on Remembrance Day. So we have a strong connection to piping, and our person who's working on this for us was happy to put in some of these things. So every stop that we go to on this itinerary has both a cultural, largely musical one, so St. Cecilia Music Museum, the Piping Center, things like that, as well as various performances that we will undertake in the process of going on this trip. It's proposed to take 8 days in total, and we are currently pitching to have this take place over the course of spring break 2026, so as to affect the minimal amount of classroom instruction time. The theoretical number of students involved, if the numbers stay flat year over year, is as many as 50 kids coming on this for the senior band. If we keep all the kids who are currently in 9 and 10 and 11 through to next year, it will be around 50 kids if all of them can go. And Luann and I also sat down and had a meeting with the Secretary Treasurer to just go over some of the financial details that we will need to cover and come up with in the case that we move ahead to the next stage of planning here. I think one of the reasons that we should be allowed to do this is that this is one of those kind of keystone learning experiences that stays with children for life. I graduated from high school in 2006, but I can tell you many of the moments that I experienced when I went on a similar excursion when I was in grade 11. It also is really, really helpful for the development of arts and culture programming for our schools. To say that we, do music in the elementary schools, and then you move into the secondary schools, and we support it to the extent that you can go to places like London, like Edinburgh. These are big feathers in our caps for the quality of arts education that we are providing to students in this district, which I think we do very, very well here, and we want to keep going.
Ben, I just have one question before you finish. Is there an approximation of how much this trip could cost per student, or do you have any idea of that yet?
Yes, we do have a tentative number, and depending on how airfare and such fluctuates, the cost is between $4,500 to $5,000 per student. This includes all of the events, all of the hotels, the major meals in at least 2 meals a day. I'm just looking at my itinerary document right now. At least 2 meals a day, plus the attendance to all of the cultural places that we would go to. So it's largely all included. I think the only thing that's not is there are some lunches that aren't, which the students in groups would be expected to, go to a street food cart or whatever, something like that. But most of it is included.
Sorry, Ben, I missed that. That includes airfare?
Yes, it does. Airfare, bus, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, thank you for that. Do my fellow trustees have any questions at this time? And seeing none, now just to confirm, Superintendent MacArthur Poole, we're not required to provide a formal approval at this time? Or are you looking for a motion?
I do need a motion to proceed to the next step. So I do need a motion, Chair Langmead.
Okay. So I would ask for a fellow trustee to provide that motion that we allow Holy Trinity High School to continue on with their due diligence towards the school trip to Europe in spring 2026. I was beginning to think everybody fell asleep. Sorry, Ben. Trustee Galanzowski?
It's like a game of chicken. We're just waiting each other out. I move that let me get some wording here. I move that the proposed high school band students travel to Europe, Scotland, and London and England in spring 2026. Be allowed to proceed to stage 2.
And all in favor?
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
All right, I'm not sure if I caught everybody, but that was quorum. So thank you very much, Ben, for your presentation. And off you go to more planning and paperwork.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you all very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you. Seeing that we still have a few items left, as I'm wondering if we should take a 5-minute bio break at this point, or do we want to wait until we reach item number 15?
I'm okay to keep going.
I'm okay to keep going.
Okay. Admin ready to, okay to keep going?
Yep.
Okay. All right. We move now then back to item number 12.5. Sorry about that, Francois.
This one is pretty quick. Every year the board actually, the board has a borrowing as a line of credit with ATB for $2 million. We don't really use it very often, but the borrowing resolution needs to be approved every year by the Board of Trustees. So this is what we're presenting tonight, is just the 2024-2025 borrowing resolution.
All right. So unless there are any questions, I would ask for a trustee to provide the recommendation.
Be it resolved
Yeah.
that the Fort McMurray Catholic Board of Education approve the borrowing resolution as presented.
And sorry, there was some other response there, I believe. Was there a question?
No.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
In
In
favor.
favor.
In favor.
All right. So moved. Thank you very much. We move now to item number 13, and I cede the floor once again to Superintendent MacArthur Poole.
All right, earlier this evening, our policy committee got together and we went through and revised board policy number 10 on policy making. And all that we need to have is a motion to recommend that our new policy go forward.
Sorry, I'm just going to call a point of order here. I have item number 13 as administrative reports. Was there a change made?
Nope, we have the policy.
We're still
the
on
policy is 12.6.
Sorry, I printed it earlier and I did not have 12.6 on my agenda. My apologies, as you were.
Okay, so we're just looking for approval so that we can get our new board policy put on, approved and updated on our website.
And I would ask for a trustee to provide that recommendation.
Be it resolved that the Fort McMurray Catholic Board of Education approve revised board policy 10, policy making as presented.
And all in favor?
In favor.
In favor.
So moved. Thank you very much. Is there a 12.7 or can I move on to 13?
You can move on.
All right. I cede the floor to Superintendent MacArthur Poole, please, with regards to item 13.
I'd like to introduce Lisa Hilsentaker, our Deputy Superintendent of Human Resources, to go through her Human Resources report.
Okay, good evening, everyone. You just need a second here. I'll call up my slideshow here. Okay. And can everyone see? It's loading. Can you see that?
No.
Oh. Maybe. That's weird.
Oops, sorry, Vanessa's getting it up on the screen, Lisa.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Vanessa. Okay, now it's showing up. Perfect. Okay. So back in the fall, actually, of 2023, we were invited to participate in the RMWB Workplace Inclusion Charter. And so naturally, we accepted the challenge, which involved committing to 14, I think it was a variety, it was 14 different commitments across guidelines, policies, training of staff with relation to Indigenous awareness, cultural awareness, neurodiversity in the workplace. We looked at our hiring practices, job postings, promotional information, and having inclusive forms, recognizing that many of our families you have English as a second language. It also looked at 2S LGBTQ plus inclusivity training, and as well as looking at our public school works, which includes domestic violence, sexual harassment as such in the workplace. So we did all of this in the past 10 months, and then in November of this year, we were awarded with a silver. So we have a nice certificate to display in our division office, and so it ensures just that we have best practices in fostering diversity, equity, and inclusion in our workplace. And while I recognize this was about our staff and our employees, any education and learning that they can gather, that trickles down into teaching our students and working with our parents as well. As well, with our job action that is continuing on, with our teacher assistant supervisors being a part of the QP whenever a school is a strike location or when division office is considered a strike location, our teacher assistant supervisors cannot work. And so that does have a direct impact on covering our classes as teachers are away for a variety of reasons. So looking at all of our jobs that have been posted since November 18th, when job action began, until today, we've had approximately 60 positions that have been left unfilled in our schools, considering that only our certificated teachers can work. So that's left our schools to find internal coverage or to cancel programming as needed. And if we divide that over our 13 schools, it's about 5 jobs per school that has been left unfilled as a result of the job action. Teacher recruitment. Oh, just one more thing there, Vanessa. Yeah, thanks. Teacher recruitment, we have begun the annual recruitment process. We've already been to St. Mary's in Calgary to gather resumes from the students there who will graduate in April. We've decided to stay local to Alberta this year. We've in the past have gone out east, but hasn't been as valuable for us. So we are going to remain in Alberta, do the U of A, U of C, another Edmonton, which has escaped me now, Concordia College, etc. And as always, we continue to focus on recruiting teachers of the Catholic faith. So we've been successful in doing that as well. The next one. In keeping in line with our continuation of our leadership professional development, we've got our certificated teaching staff at division office who are going to participate in an ATA workshop focusing on instructional leadership, because we know that while they are not necessarily principals or vice principals, that they are directly working with our teachers. And so instructional leadership is an important area for them to actually hone their skills in. So that's going to be happening, and then continuing on in February again with some of our administrative staff, and then we're going to be working with some of other ATA reps who will provide that training. Occupational health and safety. So our first joint health and safety committee meeting of the school year was held in November. The next meeting is set for January. They will be quarterly meetings, and all sites are completing or have completed their fall school site inspections. And as well, all of our schools now have representatives from across various areas and stakeholders. So whether it be admin or management or teaching staff or support staff. And as well with our staffing update, so as of December 2nd, or I should have said that as of December 9th, so as of today, all of our positions have been filled, so we are fortunate with that. And as well with our EAs and admin and out of school care, we have all of our roles have been filled, and we continue to try and recruit certificated subs and our teacher assistant supervisors. So that continues to be an ongoing concern, especially with the job action right now. So that's it from a human resources.
Thank you very much. Do any of my fellow trustees have any questions? And seeing none, thank you very much for your report. Lisa, sorry, we move now to item 13.2, and I cede the floor once again to Superintendent MacArthur Poole.
There's no 13.2 on the, there's no report from myself. I did all my reporting in the audit and risk committee meeting earlier today.
Thank you very much. Moving now to item number 14. Item 14.1, the Alberta Catholic School Trustees Association report. My report has been attached. It's there for everyone's reading pleasure. I will open the floor if anybody has any questions or comments. It's been a busy couple of months, but some good work is being done through ACSTA. So if there are no questions or comments, I move now to 14.2 to Trustee Galanzowski.
Sure. We just had our zone meeting on Friday, so I usually wait for the meeting summary to come out and then take the bulk of it from there, but it hasn't come out yet. But the big items are in my very short presentation. We passed the budget, the zone budget, and passed the changes to any of the operating policies and procedures. And we had a very, very good PD in the afternoon, which was a journey to reconciliation by a couple of really amazing ladies. So it was, I wish that I'd have been there in person for that, but that is all.
A question regarding the PD, is that available at all for us to view?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
It was quite, a lot of it was quite hard to hear. The actual presentation was really good, but then they actually did a sharing circle, which was,
okay,
you could only hear bits and pieces, so it wouldn't have been good anyways. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Item 14.3, Trustee Janvier.
Yeah, apologies, there's no report. We did have our meeting on the 22nd of November, and we did, there's some new members. So we did a introduction. We went over the previous minutes and some actions that came out of that, and then more of questions within the group around job action and some of the things that are happening in the schools. That was the big topic, and then we broke and then we set up for the next meeting. So there wasn't a lot, but it was our first meeting since last year.
Great. Thank you very much for that. And Trustee Hoffman, do you have anything for us with respect to Grace?
Sure. Nothing on the local level at this time, but since we didn't have a November board meeting, just what was included in your board chair report, where at the end of October, we had the Grace Summit in Calgary. And so got together with some of the other Grace chapters, sharing ideas with what they were doing at a local level, had some presentations on what the difference that Catholic education makes around the province, and some ideas going forward into the new year with regards to an election year about building awareness about being involved in Catholic education.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And while I didn't speak to that in my ACSTA report, there is definitely work being done on the ACSTA level as well with respect to the upcoming election in October, and ASBA as well has information that they will be providing. So for anybody, any prospective nominees who might be interested in trusteeship. And seeing nothing further, this concludes the regular board meeting portion of our meeting, and I would ask for a trustee to motion for adjournment from our regular board meeting.
Point of order.
Sorry, yes, Trustee Galazowski.
We can't adjourn.
Correct.
Thank you.
Because we have in camera. Thank you very much. I would ask, or I would just mention then that our next regular board meeting is scheduled for January 13th, 2025. For those who will leave as a result of us moving into camera, first of all, I would ask that you all have a very safe and prosperous Christmas, and we wish you all the blessings possible during that time period. And I would ask for a trustee to motion us in camera at this time.
Like the motion sent in camera at 8:43.
Thank you very much, Trustee Janvier.
Okay, we need to confirm with.
Yes.